Today we're going to go over how to use Courier, the best way to design and deliver notifications. We'll start with sending an email, one of the most popular channels among our customers. A common challenge with sending email notifications is the notorious difficulty of building templates in ancient HTML that works across Outlook 2003, Hotmail, Yahoo, and many other email clients. Courier throws all of that out the window by giving us a simple drag and drop user interface where we can edit and format text, add buttons, links, and images, even add variables and conditions on when to display certain blocks. Of course, if we're interested in using HTML, we can always switch to our handlebars editor. After we build our template, we need to set up an email provider to send our email. We already have an integration with SendGrid set up, so we'll go ahead and select it. Now we're ready to publish our template and send. To send a notification using Courier, we have to make a call to the Courier API. Here we're going to use a REST API editor called Insomnia to simulate what a call from your codebase would look like. We simply send a post request to api.trycourier.app/send, specify an event ID, which describes the actual event on your server that is triggering the notification, and a recipient ID, which, as we'll see later, helps us correlate a single user across multiple channels, such as email, SMS, Slack, and so on. We can also add a data property to specify variables and conditions for our template. We'll now go ahead and hit send and wait for SendGrid to deliver us the email. While we wait for SendGrid, let's add support for a few other channels. We'll add push, SMS, and Slack. You'll notice that every channel we select appears on the left. This list functions as a priority queue, meaning that whenever we call the Courier API for this event, Courier will first attempt to send the notification to the recipient via the first channel on the list, in this case a push notification. If for some reason we aren't able to use that method, perhaps because the user has set their preferences to not receive push notifications, then Courier will automatically move on to the next channel on the list, in this case SMS. If that doesn't work, perhaps because we don't have the recipient's phone number, then Courier will attempt to send through Slack, and then finally email. Of course, the template we built was specific to email, so we'll need to rebuild it for our other channels. Normally, this would be another time-intensive task, but Courier automatically saves our template blocks into a library, and we can simply drag and drop the same blocks into our new channels where they will be formatted appropriately without any extra work. We can drag over the text here, and we see that the button, which we wouldn't be able to send over SMS, turns into a hyperlink in our SMS template. We can do the same thing for Slack, and this time the button becomes a BlockKit action button. Now we hit publish again to save our changes. If we return back to our code now, without making any changes, and hit send, we'll receive a message through Twilio instead of SendGrid. If we move Slack above SMS in our queue, then we receive the same message over Slack instead of Twilio. We were able to do this without making any changes to our API call. It was all handled through the Courier interface. Courier also lets you add more complex routing conditions. For example, maybe for this event we always want to send an email and at least one other channel. We can do this by setting email to always on. We might also want to add other email providers so that we can test deliverability. The only information we need to set up a new provider is our API key from the provider's website and a from address. Perhaps we only want to send messages over Slack to users on the business plan. Or we might be interested in setting up different SMS providers for different geographies. Maybe we want to use MessageBird for Europe, Africa's Talking for Africa, and Twilio for the United States. We can do all of those things using the Courier interface, or use the Courier Preferences API not shown here to specify conditions on a per-user level. The last feature we'll go over for this video is the event log. Courier lets you filter all of your sent notifications by time, status, provider, and even by recipient. So we can search through all of the notifications sent to a single user across all of our channels. If we click into one of the events, we can also see what information was sent to the Courier API, what information was loaded about the recipient profile, and what information the downstream provider, in this case Slack, returned back to us. This completes the basics for how to use Courier. Thanks for watching, and reach out if you have any questions.